On this episode of Extraordinary Women TV.
Joining me in the studio is one of Canada's most extraordinary women in the entertainment field. Karen King is a champion of diversity in the film and television industry. She is the first Black woman in Canada to produce a feature film. Karen is also the founder of Productions Without Borders, an online community dedicated to supporting diversity and inclusion in film and television. Karen, it's so nice to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You've done a lot for women in the entertainment industry in Canada, so very grateful to be speaking with you today.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
The first Black woman to produce a feature film, Rude.
It's a movie, so because there was a documentary feature probably produced before me, but Rude was one of those wonderful opportunities. I was actually at the Film Center, the Canadian Film Center at the time. I had spent a number of years working in commercials and had moved into doing short form drama. I'd produced a couple of shorts through the Film Center, and then I was approached by Damon and Clement to join them in producing Rude, and we set our sights on Cannes, and we actually had our world premiere at the official Cannes Film Festival in Anse-à-Regard. So not only, it's a wonderful way to start off your career in the mainstream long form media. So yeah, it was wonderful.
What was it like to be there at Cannes?
Wow, Cannes was a really interesting experience because it was sort of the pinnacle of the feature film industry. You get your film at Cannes, and that's what people work for and they dream about, right? And it was the first time we were out of the gate. I was also pregnant. I was about 4 months pregnant at the time. And one of the things that I really learned from that experience was that there was something really empty about it for me because I wasn't there with anybody that I loved. Like my family wasn't there with me. And I did so many things in my career like that where I was so driven to be, doing what I was doing, but never inviting my family to come and share with me. And that one really hurt because we were across the world. I really wished they'd been there. And I really learned that no matter how great that moment is, without sharing it with the people that you love, it becomes kind of an empty experience.
Well, so how did you break that glass ceiling for women? What was the process that?
Well, for me, it wasn't just about being a woman. It was also about being a person of color. And I'd grown up in Vancouver, and definitely during the women's liberation movement for sure, and really learned that we as women, we could do whatever we wanted, and we, like a fish needed a bicycle, we needed a man, and all of that I grew up with. And so, but I also grew up with a very strong sense that I could do anything I wanted. My father was a lawyer, my mother was a teacher, and the expectations were that I would accomplish great things in my life. And so I had those expectations completely. And I went to university in Vancouver, and it was when I decided my ambition actually was to be a journalist and to be in front of the camera. I did the whole Cable 10 thing. I, hosted a magazine show there, and I was working my way up from, I was in Coquitlam out in Port Moody, and then I went into Burnaby, and then I went to Vancouver Cable, and it was now time to get a real job. And I went into BCTV and met with the news director there. His name was Cameron Bell, and he was like, Lou Grant, kind of a, big, gruff guy, but with a heart of gold kind of thing. And he said to me, I don't want you to waste your time. So I'm just going to tell you like it is. He said, if you were Aboriginal, I'd snap you up in a heartbeat. But the fact of the matter is there's not a large market here for Black people. There's not a large Black market, is what he said. And there's already a Black woman in this market. You'd be better off to go to Toronto, where there's a bigger Black audience. So I decided I would take his advice. I figured he's been in the industry a long time, and for the rest of my career, I really did learn that there is a connection between the storyteller and the marketplace that can't be denied. And in Vancouver in 1985, I didn't have much value in that market because that wasn't the audience. Today, things are completely different. The audiences have changed. And the value of people of color in today's marketplace should actually be far more valued than it is because that's who our market is. So the work that I'm doing now is really about saying, hey guys, there's a market that we're not serving adequately because we're actually not telling the stories that really connect to who our audience is.
And now, the Good to Know Minute.
Now, Karen, it's time for my Good to Know Minute, and I know you've got a great success tip.
I think for me, it's really been a can-do attitude. And that means that there was a time in my life where everything that came to me, I just said yes to. And sometimes to my detriment, don't get me wrong, because I overloaded myself more often than not, and I probably didn't do everything that I said I was going to do when I said I was going to do it, which is really not very good. But I think that it really allowed me to just live my life passionately, you know, like really, in spite of everything that would happen to us, we would just get up and dust ourselves off and start all over again. And I think that's been a large part of it.
And that's good to know. And thanks for that.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, more on Extraordinary Women TV. So stay with us. And now for more Extraordinary Women.
You have won 2 Geminis here in Canada
Yes.
for your work, and you are the only person in Canada to have won 2 Geminis. Is that correct?
In the Canada Award
in the Canada Award category.
Which was a category dedicated to programs that had reflected the multicultural nature of our country, both on and off camera. And I won that with Jari Osborne for Unwanted Soldiers, which was a story of Chinese veterans in World War II. These Chinese were actually recruited by the British to go behind enemy lines because they spoke English and they spoke Chinese. Excuse me. And the second film was Film Club, which I won with Cyrus Sundar Singh for a film we did called Film Club, which was about a group of grade 8 students who really were a group of misfits that came together at this little film club after school, and they were the story of Canadian immigration at the time of multiculturalism, and it really tells that story of multiculturalism in Canada, and it's quite a remarkable tale.
So Karen, congratulations on your 2 Geminis.
Thanks.
Now, you are doing something different now. Tell us about Productions Without Borders.
Well, Productions Without Borders has really come out of all of it. And so for me, it's really a natural progression from everything that I've been doing. It really is me gathering all of the experience that I've had throughout all of the years. The first time that I worked with a Chinese filmmaker and how afraid I was, and the first time I worked with an Indian filmmaker and all of the concerns that I had, I couldn't just sort of run and hide from that. And I've worked as a diversity consultant on shows like Showtime with The Gang of Blue with Melvin and Mario Van Peebles, and with Tim Reed, Venus Flytrap from WKRP in Cincinnati. He came up to Canada to do a movie called Race to Freedom, and he walked into the production office and said, "Where are all the black folks?" And so the producers, who were Atlantis, had to say, okay, what are we going to do? Let's get somebody in here. They hired a friend of mine named Claire Prato to be their associate producer and to help them find crew. She got another job at the film board, which I later got, but and she asked them to hire me. She recommended me for the position. I came in and worked with them to find people who were working in the industry, who were working in non-union shows, to got them into the union and got them working on the shows. Now that show, along with the Van Peebles show, along with a third show I did, Booty Call, with Columbia Pictures, really watched, a lot of negativity happen on those sets around that whole conversation, because people felt like it was reverse racism and that they were being forced to work with people they didn't want to work with, and there was a whole compromising of the quality of their work, and whole plethora of attitudes came up around it. So, and even when I got to global television, I kind of thought, okay, phew, now I'm a broadcaster. All I can do is wave my magic wand and say, make it so, and they'll actually listen. No! So what I realized was that there were a number of things wrong with what we were doing. And what we were doing was we were playing a numbers game. And what I know and what I learned from the National Film Board was that there actually is a difference in the quality of the work that you get when you hire people who have the life experience that you're trying to show on television. So we would often see in the NFB, they would put all female crews together to go out and tell a female story. They would put Aboriginal crews together to do, and so forth. And when I was working with my teams, it gave you a different kind of access. There was a different level of comfort when we're all the same. Whether it's a group of women that are all the same, or whether it's a group of people all from the same school that are all the same. There's a comfort level that we all have when we're all the same. And so I really understood it created a different thing. It wasn't necessarily a better thing, but it was definitely a different thing, right? So I wanted to capture that. I wanted to hang on to that. And so when we went to Toronto one of the wonderful things that I was able to do there was create a show called Echo, because I was appealing to all Torontonians. I didn't really want to go out with a black show or a Chinese show. I wanted every show to capture everybody. And so I brought together a Chinese producer, a South Asian producer, and a black producer to create one show. That's the kind of thing that I'm encouraging people to do with Pregnant Without Borders, is let's all work together. Let's all make sure that we're bringing in each segment of our population, or the people that we know. Let's make sure that we're using our added value, our hidden knowledge that we have, that every opportunity that we're able to share that, we have a process with which to do that. So what I've done is I've created a process. I've gone through the entire, sort of done a task analysis on every job category in making a film and television program. The opportunity for diversity exists, or it doesn't. You either take the opportunity now, or you blow past it and it never happens. And so giving people a sense of, here's the time. I mean, most of the time what happens for us now is it's done at casting. There's no other moment when we think about it. We do whatever our show is, and then at casting, okay, who are we going to put in front of the camera? But so many more opportunities exist before we get to the camera that really increase the quality of the inclusion. So it's more than a numbers game.
Karen, if somebody wants more information about you, where do they go?
Productionswithoutborders.com.
Well, Karen, I have really enjoyed having you here on the show today. So thank you so much for sharing your insight and the keys to your success.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
If you would like to be a guest on Extraordinary Women TV, visit our website at ExtraordinaryWomenTV.com. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter at Shannon_Skinner, or on Facebook at Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner. Join us next time for another episode of Extraordinary Women TV.